Welcome, gents. Some people were never meant to blend in because their truth was never meant to be diluted. Have you ever wondered why certain men seem disconnected from the social game? The ones who stand apart, observing instead of participating, moving differently while everyone else competes for belonging? These are Sigma men. They don't fit in, not because they can't, but because something inside them refuses to fake it just to be accepted. From an early age, Sigma men sense that the world often rewards appearance over authenticity. They watch people laugh at things they don't find funny, agree with things they don't believe, and chase validation just to feel seen. To a Sigma man, that kind of life feels like slow suffocation. So instead of bending to fit the mold, he decides to live on his own terms. Even if it means walking alone, he values depth over popularity, silence over noise, and truth over comfort. The older he gets, the more he realizes that most connections are built on convenience, not sincerity. That realization doesn't make him bitter. It just sharpens his clarity. So he stops trying to belong in a world that demands masks and filters. He doesn't crave the spotlight or social approval. What he seeks is peace, the kind that comes from being himself without explanation. In a world full of imitation, the Sigma man's refusal to blend in is not rebellion, it's self-respect. Let's get started, gents. Number 1. They realized belonging kills individuality. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to lose yourself in the crowd? One moment you're confident in who you are, and the next you're adjusting your tone, changing your opinions, and forcing smiles just to be accepted. That's exactly what Sigma men refuse to do. They understand something most people never grasp. Belonging often demands a quiet death of individuality. Sigma men know that every time you change yourself to please others, a small part of your authenticity fades. You begin to edit your thoughts, silence your opinions, and bend your nature just to keep the peace. But the truth is, peace bought at the expense of your essence is not peace at all. It's performance. They've seen how society rewards conformity. At work, you're told to blend in to survive. Among friends, you're expected to agree, even when you see things differently. In relationships, you're often loved for who someone wants you to be, not for who you truly are. Sigma men don't play that game. They'd rather walk alone with integrity than sit at a crowded table where authenticity isn't welcome. They protect their individuality with the same intensity others protect their image. While most people chase approval, they chase alignment, the feeling of being completely in tune with who they are. For them, self-respect is sacred. If keeping it means losing a few connections, so be it. A Sigma man understands that true belonging isn't about being accepted everywhere. It's about standing comfortably in your own skin, even when no one else understands you. He knows that the price of fitting in is too high if it costs him his voice, his truth, or his peace. So he stays true, even if that truth isolates him. Because in the end, losing people is easier than losing yourself. Number 2. They are too self-contained for group identity. Have you ever met someone who moves through life without needing to belong anywhere, yet still seems completely grounded? That's the energy of a Sigma man. He is self-contained, not in a cold or distant way, but in a deeply peaceful one. He doesn't need to attach himself to a group, a label, or a social circle to feel important. His sense of worth isn't borrowed from others. It comes from within. Most people build their identity around belonging. They join clubs, cliques, and movements just to feel seen. They wear certain brands or speak a certain way because it signals that they are part of something. But Sigma men operate differently. They know that the moment your identity depends on others, you become fragile. You start bending to keep acceptance and lose yourself in the process. A Sigma man doesn't seek completion in a crowd. He finds it in solitude, in his values, in the quiet satisfaction of knowing what he stands for. For example, while others might join a trend just to avoid feeling left out, he stays rooted in what feels true, even if it's unpopular. He doesn't need a group to validate his choices because he trusts his own judgment. That self-containment is what gives him power. He doesn't collapse when people withdraw or disagree. He doesn't chase approval because his confidence isn't built on applause. It's built on the inner work he's done in silence. You could take everything from him, the title, the crowd, the attention, and he would still stand tall. Because what's left after everything fades is who he truly is. That's the quiet strength of a Sigma man. He belongs to himself, and that's the rarest form of freedom. When you no longer need a group to define you, you finally discover the real you. Number 3. They know authenticity has a price. Have you ever noticed how being real often makes people uncomfortable? The moment you start saying what you truly think or living in a way that feels right to you, some people begin to pull away. Sigma men know this feeling all too well. They understand that authenticity always comes with a price. But to them, that price is worth paying. Sigma men don't fake connections just to feel accepted. They've learned that the company of people who only pretend to care can feel lonelier than actual solitude. They would rather sit alone in silence than be surrounded by noise that carries no truth. It's not pride, it's clarity. They know that pretending to belong is far more exhausting than being alone. They've experienced the quiet punishment that comes with being genuine. When you speak honestly, some people label you difficult. When you stay true to your boundaries, they call you distant. When you stop entertaining what drains you, they say you've changed. But Sigma men don't chase comfort in approval. They choose peace in truth. Think of it this way. It's easy to blend in by agreeing with everything and laughing at things you don't find funny. But every time you do, a piece of your real self fades. Sigma men would rather protect that piece, even if it means losing company. They understand that silence, when honest, feels cleaner than conversations filled with pretense. In a world that rewards fakery, they choose the harder path, to stay authentic even when it costs them closeness. Because in the end, what's the point of being liked for a version of yourself that isn't real? For Sigma men, solitude with self-respect will always feel better than companionship without truth. And that choice, though quiet, is what makes them powerful beyond measure. Number 4. They crave realness, not recognition. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt unseen? You talk, you share, you even open up a little, but you can tell. They're hearing your words, not your meaning. That quiet frustration is something Sigma men know all too well. They don't crave recognition. They crave realness. A Sigma man is not moved by attention or flattery. Compliments don't feed him, connection does. He wants someone who listens, not because they're curious, but because they genuinely care to understand. But the truth is, very few people see beyond the surface. Most look to judge or compare, not to comprehend. So over time he stops explaining himself. He saves his energy for things that actually matter. You'll notice this in how he handles conversations. He doesn't waste words trying to prove his worth or defend his decisions. If someone misunderstands him, he lets them. If they gossip, he stays silent. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. He knows that people who only look will never see, no matter how hard you try to make them. For example, in a world obsessed with likes and validation, the Sigma man walks the opposite direction. While others chase recognition through attention, he finds meaning through self-mastery. He builds quietly, learns privately, and succeeds without a crowd clapping for him. The satisfaction comes from knowing he stayed true to his path, not from hearing his name echoed by strangers. To him, Recognition fades fast, but realness stays eternal. He would rather have one genuine connection than 100 shallow admirers. Because the truth is, the world praises what shines on the surface, but the Sigma man values what's felt in the soul, and that's why he moves differently. He doesn't need to be seen by many. He only needs to be understood by a few, or even just by himself. Number 5. Their minds run deeper than most people's comfort zones. Have you ever tried having a deep conversation in a world that only speaks in small talk? It feels like diving into an ocean while everyone else is busy splashing in the shallow end. That's exactly what life feels like for a Sigma man. His mind doesn't rest on the surface. It runs deep, often too deep for most people's comfort zones. He doesn't think to impress or argue. He thinks to understand. While others talk to fill silence, he talks to exchange truth. You might find him quiet in a group setting, not because he has nothing to say, but because the conversation lacks substance. Gossip, trends, and mindless debates drain him. He feels no joy in repeating what everyone else believes. His curiosity lives in a different layer of thought, the one that questions, analyzes, and connects things most people overlook. For example, while others might argue about who's right in a disagreement, a Sigma man is busy wondering why people react the way they do. He is not interested in winning conversations. He's interested in understanding the motives behind them. That's why shallow discussions feel like eating air. There's no nourishment in them. This depth can make him seem distant, but it's not distance. It's simply that his inner world is louder and more engaging than most external noise. He could spend hours thinking about purpose, psychology, or the meaning behind small moments that others dismiss. To him, silence is not empty. It's full of answers waiting to be heard. The truth is, his depth isn't meant for everyone. Not everyone enjoys swimming in deep waters. But for the Sigma man, depth is where life feels real. He would rather sit in quiet understanding than fake excitement in empty conversations. His mind doesn't crave attention. It craves meaning, and meaning never lives on the surface. Number 6. They think before they attach. Have you ever noticed how some people jump into friendships or relationships too quickly, only to regret it later? Sigma men don't move like that. They think before they attach. They watch, they listen, they study people quietly, not because they're paranoid, but because they've learned that not everyone deserves access to their peace. A Sigma man doesn't fall for appearances. He knows that charm can be rehearsed and kindness can be used as bait. So instead of getting swept away by words, he watches behavior. He observes how someone treats others when there's nothing to gain. He notices how they talk about people behind their backs, how they handle disappointment, and how they act when no one is watching. These small details reveal more truth than long conversations ever could. For example, while most people are busy being impressed by someone's confidence or charisma, the Sigma man looks deeper. If he sees manipulation disguised as kindness, he quietly steps back. If he senses dishonesty beneath politeness, he detaches. He doesn't confront or create drama. He simply withdraws, protecting his peace without explanation. He's learned through experience that not everyone who smiles at you means well. Some people offer affection as a strategy, not sincerity. That's why he no longer lets emotions decide who stays in his life. He lets consistency, honesty, and energy do the talking. Sigma men don't fear being alone because they understand that solitude is far better than fake connection. They would rather have silence that brings clarity than company that breeds confusion. Their calm distance isn't coldness. It's wisdom built from watching too many people change once they no longer need you. So they think before they attach, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. Because peace, once protected, is too valuable to gamble on the wrong people. Number 7. They trust action more than charm. Have you ever met someone who spoke beautifully, promised the world, but delivered almost nothing? That's exactly why Sigma men trust action more than charm. They've seen how easily words can deceive, how people can wrap lies in sincerity, and how charisma can be used to control a room. To them, talk is cheap. Action is the real language of truth. Sigma men don't fall for smooth talk or practiced charm. They watch how a person moves when no one is watching. They notice how consistent someone is, not just when things are good, but when pressure hits. Anyone can sound honest, loyal, or kind for a while, but only real character sustains those qualities over time. That's why they let patience do the judging. They wait, they observe, and they believe what people do, not what they say. For example, if someone claims to be dependable but disappears the moment things get hard, a Sigma man takes note. If a friend preaches loyalty yet gossips about others, he mentally steps back. He doesn't argue or expose anyone. He just withdraws quietly. His silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. He knows that truth always reveals itself through patterns, not promises. He also reads energy. He can sense when someone's warmth is genuine and when it's manipulative. He notices effort, tone, and follow-through, because that's where authenticity hides. A person's energy tells him more than any well-crafted sentence ever could. Sigma men don't need grand gestures or poetic apologies. They just want honesty that shows up in behavior. To them, consistency is the highest form of respect. And once they see a mismatch between words and actions, the connection loses its value instantly. That's why they move carefully. They'd rather walk with a few real people whose actions speak loudly than be surrounded by talkers who perform sincerity. In their world, effort is truth, and everything else is just noise. Number 8. They are allergic to drama. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to feed on drama like it's oxygen? Every day there's a new conflict, a new story, or a new emotional storm. Sigma men can't survive in that kind of environment. They are allergic to drama. It doesn't entertain them. It exhausts them. Their minds crave calm, logic, and truth, not noise, confusion, or emotional games. A Sigma man values peace the way others value attention. He understands that gossip, constant validation-seeking, and chaos only drain energy that could be spent on growth. So when a situation starts feeling fake or unnecessarily heavy, he doesn't argue or explain. He simply steps away. He knows that real power lies in not reacting. For example, if someone tries to provoke him with petty competition or passive-aggressive comments, he won't take the bait. While others waste energy trying to prove themselves, he stays centered and detached. To him, silence is stronger than shouting, and distance is more effective than confrontation. He's not heartless. He's just selective about where his energy goes. He understands that engaging in drama is like trying to wrestle with mud. You might win, but you still get dirty. So he chooses clarity over chaos every single time. People sometimes mistake his calm for indifference, but it's actually deep awareness. He's learned that some arguments aren't meant to be won. They're meant to be avoided. He knows that when you constantly defend your peace, you lose it. So he builds invisible boundaries. He keeps his circle small, his conversations meaningful, and his reactions minimal. The quieter he stays, the stronger he becomes. For Sigma men, peace isn't just a preference, it's survival. They've mastered the art of walking away, not because they're weak, but because they've realized that protecting their energy is far more important than proving a point. Number 9. They sense when energy isn't clean. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt that something was off, even though everyone seemed friendly? That quiet awareness is what Sigma men live by. But for them, it's sharper, deeper, and almost instinctive. They sense when energy isn't clean. They don't need to hear words to understand what's going on. They can feel it. A Sigma man reads people like an open book, not through what they say, but through what they don't say. He notices the quick glance, the forced laughter, the subtle tension in the air. He picks up on hidden envy, fake compliments, and smiles that don't reach the eyes. His intuition works like a silent alarm, warning him when something about a person or situation isn't genuine. For example, someone might praise his success while secretly resenting it. Most people would take the words at face value, but the Sigma man feels the contradiction in their tone and body language. He won't confront them. He'll simply adjust his distance. He doesn't accuse, argue, or expose anyone. He just stops giving access. This ability to read energy isn't about paranoia. It's about emotional intelligence. Sigma men have spent enough time alone to tune in to the subtleties most people miss. They trust their gut because it rarely lies. When someone's presence feels heavy or forced, they listen to that feeling and protect their peace. They know that not all toxicity is loud. Sometimes it hides behind politeness and charm. So they don't rely on appearances or words, they rely on energy. And when that energy feels off, they quietly disappear. No drama, no explanations, just a silent retreat into their calm. For Sigma men, this sensitivity is more than intuition. It's survival. It's how they keep their space sacred and their spirit unclouded. They'd rather be alone in clean energy than surrounded by people who smile with hidden motives. Number 10. They don't chase connection. They attract it through stillness. Have you ever met someone who didn't say much, yet somehow everyone noticed them? They weren't loud, they didn't try to impress, but their calm energy filled the room. That's the quiet magnetism of a Sigma man. He doesn't chase connection. He attracts it through stillness. A Sigma man understands that real connection can't be forced. He doesn't run after attention or try to fit into every social circle. His confidence comes from within, not from how many people like him. While others compete to be seen, he stands still, grounded in his own energy. And that stillness becomes his greatest pull. People are drawn to him because he feels different. There's something steady about his presence, no desperation, no need for validation, just calm self-assurance. When he speaks, he doesn't shout. When he listens, he actually hears, and that quiet authenticity cuts through the noise of a world obsessed with attention. For example, imagine a group where everyone is trying to dominate the conversation. The Sigma man doesn't compete. He stays silent until he has something meaningful to say. But when he does, everyone pays attention. His words carry weight because they come from observation, not ego. He also understands that the right connections find you when you stop performing for them. The ones meant for him recognize his calm, his mystery, his depth, without him needing to explain a thing. He attracts by being at peace with himself, not by seeking validation from others. That's what makes him stand out in a world full of noise. His stillness is rare. His silence speaks. His confidence whispers instead of shouts. And the people who truly see him don't come by accident. They come because they feel something real in him, something that doesn't demand attention, but commands respect. Number 11. They've realized belonging to themselves is enough. Have you ever spent so much time trying to fit in that you almost forgot who you really were? Many people spend years chasing acceptance, changing their tone, their look, even their dreams, just to feel like they belong somewhere. But Sigma men eventually reach a turning point. They realize that belonging to themselves is enough. After years of walking through rooms where they never quite fit, they stop forcing it. They discover that real belonging doesn't come from being invited in. It comes from being at ease in your own skin. They no longer look for peace in people or places. They carry it within. Their solitude becomes their sanctuary, not their punishment. A Sigma man understands that company means nothing if it costs him his peace. He has seen how easy it is to get lost in crowds that only value appearances, or in relationships that demand he be someone he's not. So instead of chasing inclusion, he invests in self-connection. He learns to enjoy his own presence, to find meaning in his own thoughts, and to trust his own rhythm. For example, while others panic at the thought of spending a weekend alone, the Sigma man sees it as freedom. He reads, reflects, and recharges. He's not escaping the world. He's simply returning to himself. That self-anchoring gives him a calm strength that others can feel but rarely understand. Belonging to himself doesn't make him detached. It makes him whole. It frees him from the need to prove, please, or perform. He knows that when you are at peace with who you are, the world can no longer shake your foundation. So he chooses to stay loyal to himself, even if it means walking alone. Because for the Sigma man, that solitude isn't loneliness, it's home. In final words, better to stand alone in truth than to sit comfortably in lies. Have you ever wondered why some men simply can't fit into the world no matter how hard they try? Sigma men are those rare individuals who have realized that blending in often means losing yourself. They've seen how people trade authenticity for acceptance and how pretending has become the new normal. But while others adjust their masks to stay liked, Sigma men quietly remove theirs and walk away. They stop chasing belonging the moment they see how fake most of it is. They understand that fitting in often requires shrinking their truth, muting their voice, and playing roles that don't align with who they really are. To them, that is too high a price for comfort. They'd rather sit alone in honesty than be surrounded by people who love a version of them that isn't real. What sets them apart is not arrogance, but awareness. They've learned that solitude doesn't mean loneliness. It means clarity. It means no longer begging to be understood by those who only listen to reply. It means realizing that peace isn't found in crowds, but within one's own presence. In a world that rewards noise, Sigma men choose stillness. In a culture obsessed with fitting in, they choose freedom. They walk their path with quiet confidence, not because they think they're better than others, but because they finally understand themselves. So they stop trying to belong, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Because once you know who you are, the need to be accepted fades. And that's the quiet power of the Sigma man. He doesn't fight the fake world. He simply rises above it by staying real. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.